أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة لأهل التقوى واليقين ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب إله العالمين العبد المؤيد الرسول المسدد المصطفى الأمجد المحمود الأحمد أبي القاسم مصطفى محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم أما بعد فقد قال الحكيم في كتابه الكريم فاسألوا أهل الذكر إن كنتم لا تعلمون. Dear brothers and sisters, I'll be giving a series of lectures on religious issues, on ahkam. I will touch issues that are of daily use and of daily application. There is no doubt that jurisprudence covers an immense variety of issues. Jurisprudence is very vast and very expansive. There are innumerable topics which we cannot discuss entirely. But there are certain issues, certain topics that we need to know, that we need to understand and need to learn. It's the duty of every Muslim man and woman to try to understand ahkam, to learn ahkam, to learn what he needs to learn. It's the duty of every adult man and woman to make his or her independent effort in order to understand the religious issues, to understand religion in general, and Islamic jurisprudential issues in particular. It's not the duty of only scholars and ulama to understand the wajibat and muharramat, to understand what is obligatory and what is forbidden. It's not the duty of theologians and seminarians and religious students to understand what is makruh, what is abominable, and what is mustahab, desirable. It is every Muslim's duty and every Muslim's obligation to try to understand religion, to understand ahkam. Depending on the environment, depending on the community in which we live, we need to understand issues that we are mostly in touch with, that we are mostly in contact with. As I said, fiqh or jurisprudence is very vast. It is an immense topic. There are hundreds and thousands of issues within the Islamic jurisprudence. We cannot grasp or understand or learn all of them. Of thousands of issues and hundreds of issues, we can learn only those issues that we need to use in our daily lives. depending on the situation and depending on the job we have, or depending on the nature of our activities and daily encounters, we need to learn only those issues which are applicable to our daily activities, to our routine life. People who are living in the West, they have their own daily encounters, they have their own issues and own problems and their own particular environment. And people who are living in the East and people who are living in Muslim countries have their own needs and problems and activities. So, as a Muslim, irrespective of whether we are living in the West or living in the East, living in a non-Muslim country or living in a Muslim country, we have to find out what we need. We have to find out what issues we are facing in our daily lives. We have to understand what problems we have, what we are dealing with, what are our daily encounters. Let me tell you, Muslims living in the West, they have more problems than Muslims living in Muslim countries. They have to interact with non-Muslims. They have to associate with non-Muslims. They have to go to different places. They have to use different things. They have to face many phenomena which we do not face in our daily lives as Muslims in a Muslim country. Muslims in the West have to ask questions about beverage, about alcohol, about leather products, about food products, about going to restaurants, about communicating and associating with non-Muslim friends. They face questions like abortion, like adoption. They face questions like, let's say, tattoos. They have questions like crescent sighting, sighting the moon, especially people living in the northern areas. There is no Muslim country in northern areas, so there are Muslims living there. They have their questions to ask. So we see that those living in non-Muslim countries have their own particular concern, their own particular activities and particular encounters. As a Muslim, it is necessary for them to try to understand Islamic laws, to try to understand religious issues and jurisprudential laws. We as Muslims living in Muslim country also have our own problems, especially in the current age and then the present time, which is the time of information, which is the age of technology, the age of internet. We have access to different things. We communicate with different people. We have different products in Muslim countries. What are we supposed to do and what are we supposed not to do? What are the obligatory things and what are the forbidden things? What should we stay away from and what should we keep away from? These are issues that we have to learn. And as I said, it is not the duty of only a person like me, a scholar, a religious man, a cleric, to learn the ahkam. It is the duty of every Muslim, every practitioner, every adherent Muslim to learn the ahkam. We cannot learn the ahkam by only sitting in our homes and watching TV. We cannot learn ahkam by staying and doing nothing or by sleeping. No. It is our responsibility, it is our duty to seek knowledge, to try to acquire knowledge, to acquire understanding, to acquire insight. An insight or vision, understanding cannot be achieved by sitting at your homes, watching TV and doing nothing or just sleeping. We have to be on the look for understanding. And knowledge is something like a lost object, that you have something that you have lost, and something which you should always be in search of. Wherever you find it, you have to get it. You have to grab it. I have to mention a few hadiths, a few traditions, and a few sayings from the infallibles, from the Holy Prophet, and from our infallible imams as a proof of my saying. The Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, said, أُفٍّ لكل مسلم لا يجعل في كل جمعة يوما يتفقه فيه أمر دينه ويسأل عن دينه. A loss for every Muslim. In fact, he says that I am sorry for the Muslim who does not allocate a day of his week or one day of the week to understanding his religious issues. وَيَسْأَلُ عَنْ دِينِهِ, and a loss for the individual, for the Muslim individual who does not try to ask about his religion, try to understand his religion. I'm sorry for that individual. Now this hadith is mentioned in Biharul Anwar, volume 1, page 176. There's another hadith and another tradition from Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam. He said, لو أتيت بشاب من شباب الشيعة لا يتفقه لأدبته. If I come across a Shia man or a Shia woman, a Shia from the Shia people, if I ever come across such an individual and I find him not doing anything about his religion, and if I understand that he is not trying to understand his religion to acquire religious knowledge, لَأَدَّبْتُهُ, I will punish him, I will chastise him. This hadith shows how grave, how important, and how serious it is to learn religion, to understand the issues of religion, to understand Islamic laws. When I emphasize on understanding religion, religion as a whole is necessary to be understood. It is necessary for us to acquire religious knowledge. But ahkam is part of the religion. It is part of the whole institution. We have to understand ahkam. And it is very urgent for us as Muslims. as practitioners, as adherents to Islam, to understand and to know what is right and what is wrong, and to know what is wajib and what is haram, what is obligatory and what is forbidden, what is obligatory and what is prohibited, what is mandatory and what is not, what is abominable and what is not, what is desirable and what is not. This is important. Ali bin Abi Hamza heard the sixth Imam, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam, who said, تفقهوا في الدين فإنه من لم يتفقه منكم في الدين فهو أعرابي. تفقه في الدين, understand the religion, and whoever does not engage in learning religion, and whoever does not try to understand the religion, فهو أعرابي, he is like one who lived in the time of ignorance. He is an ignorant person. He is like a nomad who has no knowledge of the divine religion and who has no idea of the obligatory things and of haram things. It is necessary for every individual to try to be an understanding man, a knowledgeable man. Acquiring knowledge is of paramount importance. Now this hadith is mentioned, the hadith which I just mentioned, is in Al-Kafi, in Muhammad bin Yaqub Kulayni's book Al-Kafi, volume 1, page 31. You can look for the hadith in that book. Another hadith which I would like to mention is again from Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam. He says, من لم يتفقه في دين الله لم ينظر الله إليه يوم القيامة ولم يزكي له عملا. Whoever does not try to understand the religion, whoever does not try to seek religious knowledge, لم ينظر الله إليه يوم القيامة. God will not pay attention to him on the day of judgment. God will not pay heed to him on the day of resurrection. وَلَمْ يُزَكِّي لَهُ عَمَلًا. And God will not consider his acts as worthy of acceptance. His actions will not be considered as pure, as eligible for, as qualified for acceptance. His actions will be discarded because he practiced the religion when he was ignorant. He did something of which he had no idea, of which he had no knowledge. He did it because he thought that it was his duty, but in reality he did not know that it was his duty. He might have been doing something wrongly. He might have been busy doing something, worshipping God, not knowing that the way he practiced the religion, the way he performed his prayers, and he observed fast, or he discharged other activities, religious activities, was wrong. When a person does something, he has to have an idea, he has to have a proper understanding of what he does. He should not be ignorant. Ignorant is the worst evil that a Muslim man or woman can encounter in his and in her life. There is another important hadith which I would like to mention. The hadith is very, very comprehensive and very easy to understand. The hadith is from Imam Musa ibn Ja'far. He says, the Imam, peace be upon him, says, تفقهوا في دين الله فإن الفقه مفتاح البصيرة وتمام العبادة والسبب إلى المنازل الرفيعة والرتب الجليلة في الدين والدنيا وفضل الفقيه على العابد كفضل الشمس على الكواكب ومن لم يتفقه في دينه لم يرض الله له عملا. The hadith is very clear, very vivid, and is easy to understand it. تفقهوا في دين الله. Seek knowledge of the religion of God. فإن الفقه مفتاح البصيرة, because understanding the religion. Fiqh means understanding. The literal meaning of fiqh is to understand. But according to legal terminology, fiqh refers to jurisprudence. And when the word fiqh is used in a general sense, it means understanding, especially when it's used in a hadith as this. The Imam says, فَإِنَّ الْفِقْهَ مِفْتَاحُ الْبَصِيرَةِ. Understanding the religion is a key to vision, to insight, to learning, to insight. Basira means insight and vision. وَتَمَامُ الْعِبَادَةِ. And understanding the fiqh is the perfection of worship. Understanding the religion is the perfection of the religious acts of worship. وَالسَّبَبُ إِلَى الْمَنَازِلِ الرَّفِيعَةِ. And it is the means for attaining lofty positions. And it's the means for attaining lofty ranks, high ranks in the religion, within the religion, and in the worldly affairs. If you want to attain a high rank in religion and in worldly affairs, you need to understand the religion. It's a means for attaining high ranks. وَفَضْلُ الْفَقِيهِ عَلَى الْعَابِدِ كَفَضْلِ الشَّمْسِ عَلَى الْكَوَاكِبِ. The excellence and the merit, the virtue of a jurisprudent, a person who has knowledge of the religion, is like the merit or excellence of the sun over the other stars, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَتَفَقَّهْ فِي دِينِهِ لَمْ يَرْضَ اللَّهُ لَهُ عَمَلًا. And whoever does not engage in understanding religion, God will not be pleased with the actions he does. God will not be satisfied with his acts, with his performance, and with whatever he does as a religious man, as a practitioner, as an adherent. The hadith which I mentioned is again in Bihar al-Anwar, volume 10, page 247. As I said, that every adult person is under the obligation to try to understand the religion. Every mukallaf, every person who is duty bound. Now, who is a duty bound person? Who is a mukallaf? According to Islamic Sharia, a person who has a man or a boy who has completed 15 lunar years is an adult. This is for the boy. A boy becomes adult, he reached the age of puberty at the completion of 15 lunar years. What about a girl? Of course, a girl reaches the age of puberty and adulthood at the completion of 9 lunar years. So whoever completes 9 years from women and whoever completes 15 lunar years from boys and from men, it is necessary for him and her to start practicing the religion, to start engaging in worshipping and in fasting and in doing other religious activities. It does not mean that we cannot start practicing the religion sooner than this. It is highly recommended for parents to try to help their children to learn ahkam, to learn the religion before they have attained the religion, before they have attained the age of puberty, and before they have become adult. Dear brothers and sisters, you should understand that ignorance on the part of a person who has access to information is not acceptable. There are two kinds of ignorance, and one is culpable ignorance and the other is inculpable ignorance. The inculpable ignorance is forgivable, but the culpable ignorance is not forgivable. It is not acceptable. Now, what does culpable ignorance and what does inculpable ignorance mean? I have to explain you in a few words. There are people living in very remote areas, having no access to a religious scholar, having no access to library, have no access to a religious environment. Such a person is not guilty in his ignorance. He is not held accountable, he is not responsible, and he is not punished on the day of judgment, because he did not know in the first place that it was his duty to acquire knowledge, that it was his obligation to look for religious knowledge. Now, there are people living in North Pole, and South Poles probably. They have been living there for ages and centuries, and they have no idea, no information about the religion. They are not Muslims. They are, and they will not be punished on the day of judgment. There might be even people who might be living in a family and in a city. His parents might be Muslims, but they are not practicing Muslims. Their children are grown up in a family whose members do not offer prayers, who do not attend majalis, who do not do anything to show that they are Muslims. The children brought up in such families remain ignorant because they did not have access to religious sciences, to religious scholars. They were kept ignorant. Such people are not guilty in their ignorance. They are facing inculpable ignorance. And as I said, a person who is faced with such an ignorance, he is not punished, he is not liable. As far as a person who is ignorant and whose ignorance is culpable ignorance, such a person is held responsible because he had access to scholars, he had access to mosques, he had the means to learn religious knowledge, to acquire religious knowledge, but he did not try to understand. He did not go out in search of religious understanding. Such a person is guilty, and he will be punished on the day of judgment. It is very important to understand who you are, whether you are a person who has access to scholars or not, who has means, the necessary means to understand religion or not. Of course, in this age, which is the age of information, which is the age of the outburst of knowledge, of information, we cannot say that those who have access to internet, those who have access to the digital world, to the cyberspace, can be considered as having inculpable ignorance. They are ignorant and they are guilty of their ignorance and their ignorance. So let us try to understand and let's work hard to understand the religion as a duty we have. It is our duty. As a Muslim, it is our obligation, it is our responsibility to acquire knowledge, to acquire understanding, and to not only to understand the religion, but also to help others to understand the religion, to help our children to understand the religion, to practice the religion. Inshallah, in the next series to come, I will touch some of the most important and most necessary Islamic issues and Islamic laws. I will address the issues step by step, topic by topic. Tomorrow, or maybe in the next session, I will have to speak about one of the most important topics, which is taqlid. And inshallah, I hope you will follow the series of lectures which I will deliver. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.